There we go. All right, recording started. All right, so before we begin, like I said to Lisa before, go ahead and get something to drink, get comfy, find something to take notes with, take a deep breath, and be prepared to participate. So to give you all an overview of tonight's agenda, as is the title of the event, this is focusing on relational organizing, specifically during legislative session. So we're going to give you guys a bit of an overview of the legislative priorities that FCB has for this year. I'm going to give you as brief as possible of an overview of the legislative process of how a bill becomes law. I'm going to try to keep that as brief as possible because they don't make it easy. And then we'll go into what relational organizing is, why it's important, and then how to get yourself set up and empowered. As always, there's time set aside towards the end for questions, but if you have some hot button questions throughout the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat box. So at FCB this year, we have a wide range of legislative priorities that we are focusing on. You know, as you may already know, FCB envisions a government that reflects the people, and it strives and lawmakers who vigorously fight for policies that protect our environment and create a healthy, sustainable future for all Floridians. So at FCB, we really believe in the intersectionality of environmental justice as well as social justice. So you can see that reflected in our legislative priorities here. We are focusing on fully funding Florida Forever through two main bills that you will see highlighted in the calls to action when you join Empower. We're also focusing on repealing the MCORS toll roads project. You've probably heard about this a lot already from us because we talk about it a lot because it is a big problem that they want to build toll roads through some very vulnerable conservation lands in our beautiful, beautiful state. So FCB is working with legislators to get the toll road project repealed and get funding diverted towards conservation projects. Through our Connected in Crisis Coalition, FCB is working on COVID utility funding assistance, which we have kind of branded as our Keep the Lights On campaign. So that's also something that you're going to hear a lot about throughout session. Additionally, FCB focuses on supporting a just transition to 100% clean, renewable energy. 100%. Not 75%, 100%. And I'm saying this because we're working on this through two aspects. One of them is through supporting a bill that was filed in both the House and Senate that seeks to establish 100% renewable energy goals for the state of Florida to move us towards 100% renewable energy by 2050. However, there's a wide range of bills in the Florida legislature right now that would preemptively take the power away from some municipalities to be able to restrict fossil fuel production and distribution within their own jurisdiction. So, you know, if we can't restrict the dirty fossil fuels, how are we going to get to the 100% clean renewable energy?
Right.
You know, 2 plus 2 equals 4. So 100%. Additionally, FCB is focusing on protecting our democracy. Like we said, we focus on the intersectionality of environmental justice with social justice, and we believe that protecting our democracy is key to that, particularly the right to vote and the right to a peaceful protest. FCB is part of the nationwide conservation voter movement, and we think it's going to be really difficult for people to be conservation voters if they can't vote. So that's kind of, you know, a prerequisite. So we're holding elected officials accountable as much as we can. And additionally, to the last point of affordable housing, which ties in deeply with resiliency efforts, because we need stable, affordable housing to help Floridians achieve that level of resiliency to adapt to climate change. But more coming on that in the next few weeks as we develop a role within that area. So now to give you a very brief story on how a bill becomes a law in Florida. And I promise to keep this as brief as I possibly can. So first, a bill may be introduced in either the Senate or the House of Representatives. You probably already know this part. And in order for the bill to move through the process, it goes to a committee. Usually each bill gets assigned to 3 committees, that's pretty standard, to study the bill and hold committee hearings that are also open to the general public to allow debate on these bills. After the committee has heard each bill, they will vote on it. And if the vote reports favorably, then it moves the bill throughout the calendar. Then a policy and steering committee may place the bill on a special order calendar for debate before the entire body of either the Senate or the House. Special order calendars kind of help it speed through the process, as we can see this little cartoon characters speeding on by, but typically it has to go through all 3 of the committee stops before it can be placed before the entire chamber. Then once the bill is read the first time, it is then subject to second reading and amendments. At that point, it's just amendments. Voting on the amendments of the bill will take place and debate on the bill will take place. No voting on the entire bill happens in the second reading. That is left for the third reading. That has to take place on a different day. And so, for example, we saw this just last week in the Florida House of Representatives with House Bill 1, the anti-protest bill, where it was placed on second reading last Thursday, and then they had hours long of debate and amendments, and then on Friday they were able to debate even further and then vote on the bill, which it unfortunately passed, but hope isn't lost yet, don't worry. After passing that House, in this case the Senate, or in the House of Representatives, the bill has to go through the same process in the other chamber. So if it originated in the Senate and it passed through the Senate, it also has to pass through that procedure in the House of Representatives and be passed. If amendments are, after it's passed, if amendments are adopted in the opposite chamber, then those have to be reflected in both chambers. So for example, if it passes through the Senate and the Senate passes one version, and then the identical version goes through the House of Representatives, but before it's voted on, there are different amendments added on to it, then those amendments also need to be taken to the Senate so that when they get passed, they are identical, because they have to be identical before they can go on to their final stage, which is to be signed or vetoed by the governor. So when the identical bill is passed in both the House and the Senate, then it is sent to the governor to be signed, at which point the governor can either sign it to law, check, good to go, signed, sealed, delivered, or he can veto it and say, nope, we don't want this, and send it right back. However, if the governor fails to act and does not sign a bill within a 7 or 15-day period, then it can become law without the governor's signature. However, a note on this, in order for that to happen, for a bill to become law without the governor's signature, it must go through the Secretary of State, who can then make the bill law on the 60th day after the end of session. And if the governor were to veto a bill and says, nope, that's not going to work for me, then that veto can be overridden by the House and Senate by a 2/3 vote in both chambers. All right, so that wraps us up on how a bill becomes law. Kept that as short as I could. I spent a while looking for different charts, and there were much more confusing charts on our House and Senate websites. So I hope that was as tangible as possible. So now on to why we're here, relational organizing. So relational organizing is all about building power within your own community and your sphere of influence. So whatever your community looks like and where it comes from. It is based on training leaders to reach out to their friends and family and share personal stories about the issues that matter most to you. At its most basic level, relational organizing is asking you, the volunteers, to talk to your friends and family about the issues that matter most to you. And it is founded on strengthening relationships and finding common ground by authentically listening to the other person and knowing how to respond. So it is really focused on having those authentic, organic conversations and using the power of your everyday conversations with your mom, your sister, your best friend, your partner, whoever it might be, that your opinion matters to them. It is using the fact that your opinion matters to them to create long lasting change, because the chances are high that they will listen to you faster than they'll listen to a complete stranger. So relational organizing is really based on, using the power of our relationships to further our goals in those different areas. And so you might think, well, yeah, that's basic. I talk to my friends and family all the time. Why is this important? Because this is how change happens. So everything starts somewhere, typically with one person. So it starts on the individual level and then scales up to one person and another person, to that interpersonal level, then institutional, then societal. Those are the ultimate goals, to get the change from the smallest level to the largest level. And you're already at the individual level of change. So the goal here is to take you from that individual level to the interpersonal level, where we can have conversations with the people in our lives. And why is this? It's because, well, people take action because they can and because they want to, but only because they're asked. Oftentimes, someone needs to be asked and motivated to take action on something. In this day and age where change isn't always the easiest thing to come by, it's really easy for people to feel like their voice doesn't matter and whatever they do doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But having you, someone that they know personally, reassure them that no, like what you're saying matters, what you think matters, and the people in office ought to be listening to you, because people are more likely to take action when asked by someone that they know and trust. So think about like when you get a sales call from a complete stranger who you do not have their number saved, you do not know who this person is. You just pick up your phone like, "Hello, all right. Why are you talking to me? I don't know you. We don't want to get calls from random people. People love getting calls from their friends, their family, their partners, people who they actually save their number because they like you. So just, it's really based on they're going to listen to you and your opinion matters to them. So taking the time for a volunteer to ask their friend and talk to their friend about these issues is way more effective than an organizer such as myself reaching out to them because they don't know me. I can really do my best to sell the issue to them, but having someone that they have a real connection with is going to be way more effective because the messenger matters. And so this is a picture of a book that talks about messengers and who we listen to and who we don't listen to and the science behind that. So this is just a book recommendation for our readers out there, but we're not going to dive too deep into the book itself. But it's just to reiterate the point that the messenger matters, and that's how we're going to get change to happen, because at the end of the day what we say isn't going to have much of an impact if the people that we're saying it to don't want to hear us. So we listen to the people we trust, and you are the best messenger for the people in your networks. And so, according to the Analyst Institute, an activist or a volunteer reaching out to unlikely voters in their network is likely the best conversation that a volunteer can have. Talking to someone in your network who may not be very likely to participate in an action that's talking to the legislature, you're going to have a bigger impact on that person than I will. And so the same principle applies with during legislative session, where we have the opportunity to engage voters in the democratic process outside of an election, because their voice is just as important now as it was 6 months ago back in November. I'm glad this gift is resonating well. Yeah, we got most of these slides from our lovely partners over at Organizing Empowerment. They know what they're doing. But before we reach out to the voters in our network, and I didn't change the language from the election. We're keeping it as voters because we're still voters, and our voice doesn't cease to matter after the election ends. And so it's important to be in touch with our own motivations for why we're doing this work, because that's going to help you be more convincing when you're talking to people about it. Everyone wants to know why. What's your why? Your why is going to be what motivates you and fuels you, and it also gives your opinion credibility. So this is sometimes known as one's self-interest, which is okay. Self-interest is the internal motivating drive for why we're choosing to do this work. So I encourage you to take a moment to think to yourself and jot it down if you have your notepad in front of you of why you're doing this work, why you here at this training, what do you wanna learn to tell people about, what's in it for you, and what are you getting out of it. And I know it might seem a little bit selfish to think about yourself in this crazy world we live in, but everyone has an internal drive for the choices that they make. And connecting with that internal reasoning helps propel you and make you more passionate and more relatable for when you're talking to other people about these issues. So go ahead and take a moment to understand your self-interest as a universal motivator that drives you. Because, like I said, that's going to help you connect more deeply with the people in your network that you want to convince that these issues are important and that their voice is important during the legislative process. So again, to kind of dive deeper on the part on connecting with your story, it's important because we must understand our own motivators before we connect with others. It's similar to the concept of you can't pour from an empty cup. You need to make sure that you're taken care of before you try to fill up others. It's the same way that we need to make sure that we understand our core values and why we're doing this before we try to share it with others. So personalizing that story to you is really pivotal because you can only tell your story the best. I can't tell Lisa's story, I can't tell Karen or Jesus' story, but you guys can tell your story better than anyone else can. So you want to go ahead and think about, what will you be calling on others to do? What experiences in your life have shaped you to care about this work? Why do you care about the environment? And it can be something as trivial as a poster or a movie you saw. So I'm going to start us off. When I was 12 in my primary school, they showed us, this is going to sound so cliche, they showed us An Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore when I was in primary school. And I promise you, from that moment, my life has changed. I was like, this is nuts. This is a big problem. Climate change, well, back then it was called global warming, but the, from that moment on, I remember going home at the end of the day and telling my mom, I'm going to be an activist. And she's like, oh, no, my child's going to be an activist. Look at me doing the thing 13-year-old Savannah wanted to do. But, connecting to your personal story and like really digging into why you're involved in this work and sharing that with other people helps them connect with you, because then they know, okay, you really have a personal connection with this. You're not just repeating words because you think you should be. Everyone wants to be told the truth. And no one wants to think that they're a project and you're just repeating words to them. So, really encourage everyone to take a moment to connect with your story. And then once you've done that, you're ready to start mapping your network of your sphere of influence of the people that you're going to reach out to. And so it starts with you. Like we said, everything is on a individual level. I got this lovely chart from Danny for putting together these slides. I wasn't able to change all the pictures, but I changed the first one to be myself. So close enough. So you want to focus. So when mapping out your network, you want to think about who are your neighbors, your friends on social media, any organizations you're a part of that you might be leading or working in, the people that you work with, of course, your family, your close friends, and people that you can reconnect with and continue to have lasting conversations with. The people who you have a solid rapport with, that you can keep nurturing that conversation. And so your network is the people that you're engaging conversations with. You can map it out, and by thinking through your circles of influence, who influenced you the most, who are you closest with, and who do those people have influence on? Because you may know like 10 people that you can influence, and then each of those 10 people know 10 people. And so that's how the change continues with the domino effect. So really, really quick activity that we'll all do on our own. Don't worry, no breakout rooms tonight. We just want you to start with the people that are closest to you and then move outwards. Write down as many people as you can think of. Originally, we're going to do 90 seconds, but let's just do 30 seconds to keep the ball rolling. So go ahead and like jot down, or you could put it in the chat or on your piece of paper, the people that you can think of in your sphere of influence. Start with yourself, branch out, immediate family, friends, co-workers, neighbors, people in your book club. FCV has a book club, by the way. More on that another time. But people in your book club, whatever place of worship you participate in, and any people you can reconnect with. Go ahead and drop that down. It doesn't have to be the names, but just think of them and create a list so that you have like that number of people. Oh, thank you for adding that, Danny. Yeah, if you have a holiday card list, that's a great place to start, that list of people that you think of when you think of, okay, who's my close people that I want to send a greeting card to. That's a great place to start. I should make a holiday card list. Thank you for mentioning that. So there's a little timer, but I'm just going to give everyone about 30 seconds. And when you're done, just go ahead and throw the number in the chat. You don't have to put all their names. Just go ahead and put a number in the chat for the names that you came up with. Whoa, 27. Karen, look at you. I got to get on your level. Wow, we got some really well-connected people here tonight. Look at that. Okay. I see you guys. No, in my opinion, no list is too small. There's always one place to start with and then grow, because remember, the people that they know other people too, and we're trying to encourage them to talk to their people, and so on and so forth. I see Lisa knows candidates and former candidates. Wow, and Karen knows 27 people. So well-connected ladies here tonight. All right. All right, well, I'm gonna thank you for dropping those in the chat. I'm gonna continue on. So now that you've built a list of people in your network, it's time to start having conversations with them. So some main tips for having a conversation in relational organizing is really basic things that you've probably done already. It's a normal conversation. So you want to start with meeting people where they are. Start by talking to people the way you normally would. You don't have to call them if you don't typically call that person. You don't have to email them. Like, I know personally there's certain people that I only talk to using WhatsApp. So that when they email me, I'm like, why are you emailing me? There's WhatsApp for that. So meet people where they are and where you typically talk to them. Check in, catch up, and just, bring these things up casually. Also, really want to highlight that there's no script with relational organizing. We want you to bring up the call to action when it feels natural. There's at no point, very rarely are we going to send you a script. If we do send you a script, it's for you to have a specific set of talking points when you call a lawmaker. And you'll see some calls to action in the app that are specifically like that. Like, here's a call script, please call your lawmaker. But in terms of having these organic relational organizing conversations with your friends and family, those should be as natural as possible, where we won't be providing a script. And the third one is follow-up. So the app that we're going to tell you about, the Empower app, it helps you track your work and schedule follow-ups with your friends or family about these key issues. So don't just talk to them once, have a series of conversations over time. And this is how we influence people and escalate them to get involved and remain involved. And by maintaining trust and following up on what you ask them about. And, it's important to listen and to hear what people are saying because, at the end of the day, we all want to be listened to and not just spoken to. Yeah, to address Karen's comment, and each person doesn't need the same depth of conversation. You definitely are not expected to sit down and have a deep conversation with all 27 of your folks in one day. Personally, each of them, like for on my own list, they're gonna need different levels of depth. Some people you really could just be like, hey, I'm working on this thing. Could you like this is the area that we're working on, and send them a text with it real quick. And then some people you kind of need to warm them up to it and then slide it into a conversation as naturally as possible. So it definitely depends on who you're talking to. But you don't need to go through your whole list in one day. That's for sure. And at the end of the day, it's really important to focus on connecting, not just contacting, because these are people, not projects. And we want to be building for long lasting change because, above all, relational organizing is about meeting people where they are. And we're encouraging you to have different conversations with different people. And all those conversations will look differently and have different levels of depth. And for some of your friends, the right thing to do might be to just ask them to fill out an action form, and then for others, it might be to ask them to volunteer and ask them to build their network and call their lawmakers too. So it really depends on the person. So, lastly, before we move on to the next section, don't forget, invite your network every step of the way. A volunteer asking their friend to volunteer is way more effective than an organizer like me reaching out. So, in other words, an organizer would have to call 9 times as many people to recruit the same number of folks that you, a volunteer, would be able to reach through your existing relationships. And so now we're going to move over to talking about how to build your network and track your conversations using the Empower app. And I'm going to switch it over to my boy Jesus to tell you about how to do that.
Hi guys, I hope I hope you guys have been able to understand everything that Savannah has been able to explain. And she is great at what she does. So I know all in all, um, it's been an adventure, but I've learned a lot myself, even through this. And so I want to teach you guys a little bit about Empower and how to build your network and track your conversations through Empower. Second. Oh, how do I go back? Can you go back for me, Savannah?
There we go. I
All
got
right,
you.
so Empower is an app that is it's basically a tool for tracking your network and your calls to action. I personally use it on my phone. I have an iPhone, but it's available on iOS, Android, and online at getempowered.com/fcvoters. So whatever is easier for you guys. If you guys want to pull out your phone or if you want to do it from your desktop, we're gonna set up an account. We're gonna set up accounts for each other on Empower together right now. So yes, it's in the App Store.
So I believe in the App Store it's Empower My RVP. If you type in just Empower, you might get a banking app. There are lots of different
Yeah,
Empower apps.
that's the
There's
same thing that
Empower
happens to
My
me.
RVP.
So if we want to take a minute, you guys need help finding it in the App Store, or if you're gonna do it from your computer, if you need help, um, we'll follow along and help you guys get it, and then we'll go as we get the app itself. I'm gonna open up mine. If you guys could let us know if you have any questions when it comes to downloading the app, or if you have it, just send us a message saying that you have it on the chat whenever.
Yeah, we want to make sure everyone's gotten into Empower either on their phone or their computer before we proceed.
Danny just mentioned that if you go to getempower.com/voters from your browser in your phone, the link on that page, it will take you to the App Store and it'll make sure you end up in FC Voters version of the app.
Yeah, otherwise, if you go directly from the App Store, it'll just ask you for a committee code, which can be confusing, but that's just FC voters. So it's like the second half of that link. So if you downloaded it already, just type that in when it asks for it.
Perfect.
So thank you. Oh, that was not what.
Yeah, I didn't realize how many Empower apps there were until just a few months ago.
Yeah, it's like not the mobile banking one or like it's the only organizing related thing that's called that.
Yep. There we go. It's Empower Relational Organizing. I think it was called My RVP before. Johnny can fact check me on that.
All right, Karen is in. Yeah, I've got mine pulled up. All right, we are in. All right, so you can, like I said, you can access Empower through your computer. Are you guys on your phone, or are you guys using it from your computer? Phone. All right. Let's see.
Awesome.
All right, so right when you pull up the Empower app from your phone, it's going to ask you to sign up with your phone number or your email address. You guys just want to go ahead and type in either your phone number or your email address when it comes to creating your account. I'm going to follow along with you guys. Oh, okay, awesome. You guys, if you do it from your phone, you might you're gonna get a 6-digit sign up code. It says it has her at the Bills. Do you know where that's at, Savannah?
Let me check the chat box. Already has me. Oh, perfect. Yeah, the Bills is the call to action.
We didn't need a code or anything.
Oh, amazing. Well, you can just skip these steps and go to the next one.
All right.
I love that you guys are already in.
Give me 1 second.
So you guys are already seeing the calls to action then. So if you're seeing anything about bills, that's a calls to action. Perfect, perfect.
Okay, so then from there we start from building our network, right, Savannah? Or
yes, yeah.
Okay, could go back 1 slide.
There we go.
All right, awesome. So like you guys mentioned, I think Karen had like 27 people, and then and then Lisa had like 4. This is where we would import our contacts. You can add them directly from your phone contact list, or you can do it manually. I personally synced it to my phone, so where I could, it'll sync them from my phone. And if you guys have maybe some contacts on Notepad or an agenda, you can do it from there manually. If you guys look at the slide, it kind of gives you like a visual representation of if you're going to add someone manually, you would just go ahead and press manually at the top right, new person, write their first name, last name, as well as their phone number, and then just hit save on the top right.
Oh, okay.
One second. Should we add a few people, Savannah, or what do you think? Or how many people do you think?
I definitely encourage everyone to go ahead and start adding people to your list. The more the merrier. So definitely want to aim for a starting list of about 10 people, and then from there you can add on more.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, we'll take a minute to add some people to our list, and then we'll start talking about call to action.
But again, I want to reiterate that while we're encouraging you to meet your people where you're at, we are also going to meet you where you're at. So if you want to go ahead and add all 27 people, Karen, you go for it. And Lisa, if you want to add just 4 people today, that is fine. Go right ahead and add what is good for you today. But definitely go ahead and add some people so you can see what that process feels like, and let us know if you're having trouble adding people to your list. So I personally have about 10 people on my list at the moment. How many do you guys have?
I have 7 that I just added.
You got 7, Lisa's got 9. We're doing great.
Give you guys another minute or so. And then whenever you guys are ready, just give us a thumbs up or you're good to go in the chat. Take your time, no rush.
All right.
It won't copy and paste from our contacts. Okay, yeah, we could start.
Yeah, it does the first 6 numbers is all. I don't know why. But anyway, I can do it later.
Danny, do you know anything about that? Like if you can copy and paste it from your contacts?
It was just the phone number. I just wanted to copy and paste the phone number. I typed the names in, and then I went to my contacts, and it will only put the first 6 numbers in, and then I have to go back and find the other 4.
So you just want to enter them manually without
I've got too many
syncing
contacts.
to your contacts. Yeah, for sure. That's totally fine. You can, just so you know, if you do add directly from your contacts, there's a search bar at the top. So you can just type in the name of the person that you want to add and just select them that way. You don't have to scroll through the whole thing. But otherwise, you just want to check that out. I think it's probably a character limit.
Yeah, it's probably the way it is but anyway, I can do it. Okay, I just don't want to do it now.
That's fine. You got this.
Also, you don't need to have their phone numbers in there. You can just put their names in there and just call them from your phone, because that's how you're going to do it anyway. And then just make sure you come back into Empower and say how the conversation went, which you'll see in a second, how to do that. But the only thing that you'll be missing is just clicking a button that says call, and it'll make a phone call the same way you would if you just called them from your phone. So you'll see that in a second.
Yeah, good point. Thanks for highlighting that. All right, I think we're good to go.
All right, so once your network is built, once you got your people on your list, you're ready for your first call to action. So, all right, so just first and foremost, the call to action is an opportunity to engage your people in your network one-on-one around the specific concrete issue. So an example would have been Savannah and I during the elections. We were using Empower a lot to reach out to people and try to get them to go out and vote and see the importance of them going to vote. And so you can see on the little screen in the PowerPoint that this is the exact example. Ask your friends if they're registered to vote, and so you would just go ahead and reach out. And then We want to remember that it's not a script, so the call to action is written as a set of instructions that will just guide your conversation. We don't want to make it seem like we're robots talking to our friends. We want to make it seem as smooth and as natural as possible, because like we mentioned before, nobody wants to get those scam likely calls about our car's insurance warranty or whatever the case may be. We wanted to see if we want to feel like if we're reaching out to our friends that we're talking to them as their friends, so that they can truly understand and feel whatever it is that you're trying to get them to feel. And so in this scenario, you'll select a person from your list to begin your outreach. So pull my list down. Okay. All right, and from here, you're gonna engage in an authentic one-on-one conversation around the call to action and fill out the questions to track how it went. So it gives you the option to call them from the application, text them, and then depending on how they responded, you will have number of questions that you'll be able to answer, so that you know who answered yes to let's say that you guys did chat, or if you're waiting on a response. And in the example for Savannah and I that we did this during the election, you'll go ahead and answer if they were registered to vote or they weren't registered to vote, so that Empower saves this and can what's the word, can have it, basically just save it accordingly and have everybody separated accordingly. So then you're gonna fill out the questions based on your conversation to let us know how it went. Second. And then you can also invite your friends to join and reach out to join to create their own networks. So on the app itself, you can you get your own personalized share link that you can send out to your friends and get them to do the exact same thing that you'd be doing. Do you have any tips or tricks or anything that you want to say, Savannah, or anything that I might have missed up to this point that might help?
Yeah, absolutely. So for some of the calls to action, it will say invite your friend to the app, but then there's also, in place of that, you will see a button that says share training link. If your friend would be up for volunteering and you click yes, they are interested, then it'll show you a button that says share training link, which will either which will give you a link to invite them to an upcoming FCB training. So usually you'll see one of two options, either invite to app or share training link. But yeah, you got it.
Awesome. And then connect, not contact. You want to explain a little bit of connect, not contact?
Yes. So, like I said before, we want to reiterate the importance of having meaningful conversations, not just checking off a box. We're not the point of relational organizing is to go deeper, not just to attach a form to an email and shoot it off to as many people as possibly can. FCB already does that. We already send those action forms to most people on our list pretty regularly. So you guys don't need to be doing the exact same thing. If we want you to have deeper conversations and focus on connecting with the person you're talking to, not just contacting and being like, okay, all right, check, I talked to that person. Next, you want to actually go through the call to action and go through those questions and connect with them on that issue. And if for example, at the moment we have about 4 or 5 calls to action that are currently live. That is the most FCB has ever had. And that's really exciting for us. But also want to remind volunteers that there's no obligation to go through all 5 calls to action. Sometimes we'll send you updates to point you towards which one is a priority for that week, but also gives you a menu of actions to choose from. So if you see like, okay, I really care about Florida forever, renewable energy, that's important too. Well, we could talk about that in 2 weeks. Let's talk about Florida forever this week. You can start with that one. move through your list with the Florida Forever call to action, and then move on to the next one. So there's no pressure to do all 5 calls to action at the same speed. Choose which one you resonate with the most. Or if there's a particular action coming up in the legislature that week, we will send you an alert through the app to let you know, hey, this week we want to place particular focus on keeping the lights on because that's going to be heard in committee. Or we want it to get heard in committee or stuff like that. So that's to emphasize the importance of connecting, not just contacting. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. If you guys have any, questions as of now in regards to Empower, relational organizing, or anything of that nature?
I have one stupid question and
No
also
such thing.
some other questions. All right, well, you haven't heard me. This is kind of unrelated, but semi-related. How do these Senate terms work?
The Senate terms?
Yeah,
So like how long each senator,
yeah,
how long each their terms are
yeah.
for? I know for the House of Representatives, each rep's term is 2 years, and they
Yeah.
have a maximum of 4 terms.
Yeah.
I think it might be the same in the Senate, but I think it actually, I'm just now learning that actually in the Senate, so for the House, it's 4 terms that last 2 years each, and then the Senate is 4-year terms, and they can have up to 2 terms.
Are they always 4 years? The terms?
I believe so. I can double check on that.
Okay.
And get back to you.
I've been looking it up, and there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to the Senate terms, and so I was just hoping this could be my opportunity to learn something.
Is this Florida Senate or
Yeah, Florida.
U.S. Senate? Florida
Senate.
Okay. Okay, because U.S. Senate's a little bit different. I don't think they have term limits for the U.S. Senate.
They don't have term limits.
They can just stay there until they're voted out.
Yeah.
It's wild to me, but anyway. For the Florida Senate, I believe their term lasts 4 years, and they have a maximum of 2 terms before they get term limited. Is there a specific senator who you're wondering how they're still there?
Oh my God. I've just looked at so many, and like sometimes it looks like they come up every 4 years, and sometimes it looks like they come up every 2 years. Like I'll look at 2020, these are like the senators who are coming up. I'm going to look at the 2016 data to see who's coming up in 2020, but then it's not the same. And there's some people who were up in 2018 who were up in 2020, and all right, that's fine.
That is a little bit confusing. Yeah. I'll look more deeply into that and get back to you on that. But I guess I could learn more there too. But as far as I know, it's 4-year terms. But I did have that same question back during the election of, okay, well, not the entire Senate wasn't up in 2020. So I guess it depends on when they entered, when they started their term, probably.
Yeah.
What was the second question?
Okay, the other question, a little bit more relevant. So I see it'll have information on the bill on the policy when you're up front. Does that just vanish once you're in the chat with someone? Can you reference that throughout the conversation?
So I believe you can once you click. So if you're on your phone, once you click the information for the bill, so for example, support these Florida Forever bills, and click the button that says keep going, then you click your friend's name. At the top, at the top where it says contact, insert name here, there are 2 buttons. There's one that says view profile, and then there's a view action button. So the view action button should bring up the whole call to action for you so you can reference it.
Cool. Oh, review action. Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Oh, okay.
Does that answer? Yeah. Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's actually a new feature. Dan, you can correct me on that, but I feel like a few months ago it was like, oh wait, gotta go back. But That's an amazing thing about the Empower app. They're really good about feedback. So if there's like anything that you're like, wait, why can't I do this? Maybe there's an explanation for why you can't do it. Or maybe it's like intentional, or maybe it's something new that they can add. They're really agile, really great team to work with, and really, really open to feedback. So if there's anything you notice that you have a comment on, feel free to send it over to me or Jesus. Give us your thoughts, and we can pass it on to Danny and her team. Yeah, Danny just mentioned it was part of the redesign to make it easier. You guys are doing great, Danny.
Also, does Chispa have a profile for Empower?
Coming soon to a phone near you. That's what that sounds fun. Jesus, you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, essentially it's coming soon. As of right now, we're working because Chispa's parent organization is FCV, or Florida Conservation Voters. So since we launched about 2 months ago, and yeah, so we're still getting certain things such as this, like organizing and running for ourselves. But as of right now, we've been running through FCV. But to answer your question, no, not yet. Coming soon, though.
Coming soon. And maybe we'll start with like some Chispa specific calls to action within FCVs Empower. And when such if there is a Chispa specific Empower account, we will let you guys know. We'll let you know.
I have one question.
Yes, Karen.
More specific to the actions. HB1, you said there's still hope. Help me here. I've lost all hope.
So the reason oh boy, I mean, it's been such a trip. So the reason why there's still hope with that is because the Senate version hasn't moved at all.
Oh.
So it hasn't been heard in the Senate whatsoever. It just passed last Friday in the House of Representatives. The Senate version hasn't been heard in any of its 3 committees. However, we do know that anything can happen during legislative session. So there's potential for it to go on a special order calendar and just fast track it to the Senate floor and have it be put to a vote. But because that hasn't happened yet, there's still hope for us and all of our other coalition partners who stand in opposition to this bill to try to convince senators, urge them to oppose this bill.
So it's SB 484.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I found that in my app.
Yeah, perfect. Empower in action, yes. And that's why we included that picture, because at first we were putting specific focus on the House bill because that's the only one that was moving. Gotcha. And so the Senate version hasn't moved at all yet. So they have to move that for it to be able to go to the governor. So there's still hope for that reason. Yes. I promise you, at least once a week, I have the same question to my supervisors. Like, is there hope for this bill? Is there hope for the good ones to move? Is there hope for the bad ones to stop? And and I'm here to bring hope and bring the facts over in a positive way as much as I can. It's not an easy field we chose, guys, but like we talked about in the beginning of this call, the advocacy is important, that we never stop.
All right. So, and I also noticed you don't have MCORs on this. So
no, we don't right now because we didn't want to. We're slowly adding new ones every week.
Yeah,
so
and
that we don't overwhelm you guys.
Yeah, it's complex. And I have a question based on what I was in a similar call with Florida Audubon.
Okay.
And they said they're not, I don't know which one. Oh, they don't want to repeal. So they're saying they're not against the total repeal because it would repeal all the protections that have already been in place. And so they like the one better, that the 924.
924. So is that the bill that just passed one of its committees that isn't a total repeal, but
Right. And
okay.
I don't know if it passed because this call was about a month ago, but they're
Okay.
saying it's more, it has a lot in there to protect agricultural lands, and that
Right.
they're afraid if they do a total repeal, it will, they'll lose all that. It will repeal all the things they've already done, which I found very interesting. So I
Very
was just
interesting
wondering,
indeed.
so they're saying to support, yeah, 924, but not
924. Well, I will make a note of
1030.
that. Not 1030.
Right.
I will make a note of that and bring that up with our policy team, our
Yes,
government
thank you.
relations director who works specifically on MCORs. Her name is Lindsay Cross.
Oh
And
yeah, I know
there are,
Lindsay
there you
from
go.
Tampa Bay Estuary. Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. So which one did you say was 924?
They said support 924 by Senator Hooper, but not SB 1030 because it would repeal important protections that are already in place.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I'll bring that up with Lindsay and see what her thoughts on it are. I do
Yeah, I'm
know
curious.
FCV is really strong on supporting a full repeal of the roads, so that they don't go through any of the critically endangered,
Yes.
vulnerable lands.
Yes.
And so there's a little bit of debate within the No Roads to Ruin movement about how to approach these bills. That
Yes.
some of them go with a full repeal, some of them go with a partial repeal.
Yeah.
All the complicated policy. So I would talk to Lindsay about that, see what she thinks, and you can definitely look forward to seeing an MCORS related call to action within the next week or so.
Okay.
So we can talk more about that, because
right.
MCORS is an increasingly complicated topic. We could have a whole call, and probably will at some point, just about MCORS.
Okay.
So thank you for being so active, such active participants tonight, Karen and Lisa. You made all this so worth it. I'd be so sad if nobody showed up. Okay. So thank you for showing up and for participating so actively. Yeah.
All right.
I think Karen's already there, but Lisa, we have a Facebook volunteer group that we post regular updates there, and it's a great place for volunteers to talk. So I'll drop the link in the chat box for that. And I'll include, let me stop the recording. Probably should have stopped this sooner, but that's okay.